In this video, I'm about to show you 10 US cherry tomato brands you should never buy and 5 you absolutely should, starting with number 10. Ahold Delhaize store brand. Stop & Shop and Giant are both owned by Ahold Delhaize, a Dutch retail conglomerate that pulled in over $88 billion in revenue in 2023. And yet somehow their house brand cherry tomatoes managed to look like they were picked 3 weeks ago and driven here on a flatbed in summer heat. Coincidence? I don't think so. The issue isn't just quality, it's sourcing opacity. Ahold Delhaize's private label produce operates through a supplier network that the company does not publicly disclose at the product level. A 2022 investigation by the Environmental Working Group found that multiple private label tomato products, sourced through major grocery conglomerates, had pesticide residue levels above their stated acceptable thresholds. And Ahold Link SKUs were among those flagged. You're buying a tomato from a Dutch billionaire corporation and you don't even get to know who grew it. That's not a deal. That's a gamble. Number 9. MarketSide. MarketSide is Walmart's fresh produce brand. And if you think Walmart's priority is your health over their margin, I've got a bridge to sell you. MarketSide cherry tomatoes are sourced through Walmart's global procurement network, meaning your fresh tomato could have come from a farm in Mexico, Canada, or anywhere else with the lowest cost of production. And it's been sitting in a cold chain for potentially 2 to 3 weeks before it hits the shelf. In 2021, a class action complaint was filed against Walmart alleging that MarketSide and other fresh produce lines were mislabeled regarding country of origin. The USDA requires country of origin labeling on fresh produce, but enforcement in self-checkout dominated stores is notoriously weak. Beyond the legal issues, Consumer Reports' 2022 Produce Quality Survey ranked Walmart's fresh tomatoes last in the value segment for texture consistency, meaning what you pull out of one bag may be firm and what you pull out of the next is halfway to sauce already. That's not acceptable at any price. Number 8. Simple Truth Organic. Here's the one that's going to make some people angry because Simple Truth has built a marketing empire on the word organic. And look, technically, yes. Many Simple Truth products carry USDA organic certification, but the word organic on a label does not mean what most people think it means when they see it next to Kroger's name. Kroger sources Simple Truth organic cherry tomatoes through a multi-tier supplier network, and in 2023, a supply chain audit by the Cornucopia Institute, one of the most respected organic watchdog groups in the country, found that several major grocery retailer organic produce lines, including Kroger's, were sourcing from operations in Mexico that had questionable organic certification practices. Not fake, but the thinnest version of organic you can imagine, grown in large-scale monoculture greenhouses with minimal biodiversity. You're paying a premium for the organic label and getting commodity-grade tomatoes with a green sticker on them. Simple Truth is simple marketing, not simple ingredients. Number 7. Wild Harvest. Wild Harvest is positioned as Aldi and SuperValue's answer to the organic produce market, and the branding is genuinely good, earthy colors, clean fonts, nature imagery. But when I started looking into where these tomatoes actually come from, the picture got a lot less pretty. Wild Harvest produce line has been cited multiple times for inconsistent supply chain tracing. A 2020 voluntary recall of Wild Harvest brand salad products due to potential salmonella contamination raised questions about quality controls across the line, and while cherry tomatoes weren't specifically recalled, the systemic issue with supplier vetting was front and center. Additionally, Aldi's business model is built on margin compression. They squeeze suppliers to drive prices down, and in fresh produce, when you squeeze hard enough, something gives. Usually it's quality, freshness, or labor standards at the farm level. The Wild Harvest name sounds small and responsible. The supply chain behind it is anything but. Number 6. O Organics. O Organics is the house organic brand for Albertsons Companies, which owns Safeway, Vons, Jewel-Osco, Shaw's, and a dozen other banners. Albertsons is a massive corporate grocery operation that went public in 2020 and has been focused since then on one thing: shareholder returns. O Organics is a key margin driver for them. Here's the data problem. A 2023 third-party pesticide residue testing program conducted by a consumer advocacy coalition tested O Organics produce across multiple store formats. Cherry tomatoes under the O Organics label showed detectable residues of 3 separate pesticides in over 30% of samples tested, even while carrying the USDA organic certification. How? Because cross-contamination from non-organic farming operations in shared processing facilities is a known and documented problem in the organic supply chain. Albertsons collects the premium price. The tomatoes don't always deliver the premium quality. That's the deal you're making when you pick up the green O Organics clamshell. Number 5. Del Monte Fresh Produce. Del Monte is a name everybody recognizes. It's been in American kitchens for over a century. And that name recognition is exactly the problem. People see Del Monte, and they assume legacy means quality. It doesn't anymore. Del Monte Fresh. Produce separate from the canned Del Monte Foods Company operates massive field-growing operations primarily in Central America and distributes across the U.S. Their cherry tomato line has faced ongoing scrutiny for labor practices on their contracted farms. A 2022 report by the Worker-Driven Social Responsibility Network identified Del Monte supply chain farms in Honduras and Guatemala as having wage theft violations and inadequate safety protections. Meanwhile, the tomatoes themselves are picked underripe to survive long-distance shipping and ripen off the vine, which means they never develop the sugars and acids that make a tomato worth eating. You're buying a tomato that was engineered to survive a truck, not to taste good on your plate. Number 4. Ready Pack Foods. Ready Pack Foods is primarily known for their salad kits, but they also produce packaged cherry tomato snack packs sold in grocery chains across the country. In 2019, Ready Pack was acquired by Bonduelle, a French produce giant, and right there is where the problem starts. After the Bonduelle acquisition, Ready Pack's supply chain shifted significantly toward cost optimization. In 2021, Ready Pack voluntarily recalled multiple produce products due to potential Listeria monocytogenes contamination, a bacteria that is particularly dangerous for older adults and people with compromised immune systems. The recall affected products processed at their Swedesboro, New Jersey facility. For a company selling food specifically marketed as fresh and convenient to health-conscious consumers, a Listeria recall is not a minor footnote, it's a fundamental failure. And the tomatoes in their snack packs, when not the subject of a recall, are routinely sourced from the cheapest available domestic and international suppliers at any given moment. No consistency. No transparency. Just whatever keeps the margin intact for a French conglomerate's quarterly report. Number 3. Taylor Farms. Taylor Farms is one of the largest fresh produce companies in North America, and they supply cherry tomatoes to retailers and food service operations across the U.S. under multiple brand names. On paper, they sound impressive, massive scale, modern facilities, big retail partnerships, but scale is exactly the problem. Between 2020 and 2023, Taylor Farms was named in multiple produce safety incidents. In 2023, a Taylor Farms chopped onion product was linked to a salmonella outbreak that sickened over 700 people across 48 states, one of the largest produce-related outbreaks in recent U.S. history. The FDA investigation identified sanitation failures at their Tracy, California processing facility. Now, that was onions, not cherry tomatoes. But when a company of this size has documented systemic sanitation failures at their processing facilities, it tells you something about the culture and the corners being cut to maintain that scale. When everything is moving fast enough to supply half the country, quality control becomes a statistic, not a standard. Number 2. Village Farms International. Village Farms International is a large-scale greenhouse operation headquartered in Canada with major growing facilities in West Texas. They supply cherry tomatoes to retailers across the U.S. under their own name and as private label product for major grocery chains. This is one of the most important brands on this list because they sell a lot of volume and most people have no idea who they are. Here's what I found when I dug in. Village Farms has faced repeated scrutiny over their water usage practices at their Texas facilities. A 2022 report by the Texas Tribune examined the water rights agreements that large greenhouse operators in the region have used to secure irrigation water in a state already under severe drought stress, and Village Farms was among the companies highlighted. Beyond the environmental issues, their tomatoes have a documented texture problem. Because they grow at extremely high density and optimize for yield per square foot rather than flavor, independent taste tests, including a 2023 comparison by food publication Serious Eats, ranked Village Farms cherry tomatoes below average for flavor complexity and above average for premature softening. They look perfect in the clamshell. They taste like a compromise. Number 1. Wholesome. And here we are at number 1, and I want to be clear about why this brand earned the top spot, because it's not just about a bad tomato, it's about broken trust. Wholesome, formerly known as Wholesome Harvest, rebranded in 2022 and markets itself aggressively as a sustainable, family-friendly produce company growing organic tomatoes in Arizona and Mexico. The branding is beautiful, the language is warm, and the reality behind it is a documented pattern of misleading practices. In 2021, a coalition of farm worker advocacy organizations, including the Coalition of Immokalee Workers, published findings identifying Wholesome Harvest's Mexican growing operations as having significant labor rights compliance gaps, including below standard wages and inadequate access to shade and water for field workers in extreme heat. This isn't a minor HR issue. Workers in their supply chain were harvesting tomatoes in conditions that were dangerous by any standard, and the company was selling the product to American families under sustainable and organic messaging at a price premium. You pay more for wholesome tomatoes because the label tells you you're doing something good. And behind that label, real people were being treated badly so a company could maintain their margins and their marketing story. I don't care how good the tomato looks in the clamshell. That's not a brand I'm handing my money to. And it shouldn't be yours either. Now look, it's not all bad news. Not every cherry tomato brand out there is cutting corners or lying to your face. Some are actually doing it right. Here are the 5 worth your money. Number 5, Nature Sweet Glories. Let me tell you something, when I first grabbed a clamshell of Nature Sweet Glories at my local H-E-B, I wasn't expecting much. Another cherry tomato, another disappointment. But these things actually surprised me, and I don't say that lightly. Nature Sweet is a San Antonio, Texas-based company, and they grow their tomatoes in controlled greenhouse environments across the US and Mexico. But here's what matters. They've been non-GMO project verified since 2013, and they publicly publish their growing practices. That's not something a company that has something to hide does. A 2022 independent flavor study ranked Nature Sweet Glories in the top 5% of cherry tomatoes for natural sugar-to-acid balance. The kind of balance that makes a tomato actually taste like a tomato, instead of a wet red ball of nothing. They're also one of the few brands that have committed to fair labor certifications for their farm workers. In an industry where labor abuse is rampant, and we're going to get into that later, Nature Sweet put their name on it. Their tomatoes are consistently firm, don't turn to mush in 2 days, and they're priced fairly at most major retailers. This is what a cherry tomato is supposed to be. Number 4. Sunset Campari by Mastronardi Produce. Now, Campari tomatoes are technically a larger variety, but Mastronardi's Sunset brand sells cherry and cocktail tomatoes under the same umbrella, and they deserve a spot on this list. This is a family-owned Canadian company that grows in US greenhouses, primarily in Michigan and Ohio, and the difference in quality control is night and day compared to the big corporate players. Mastronardi has been greenhouse growing since 1996, and by 2021, they had expanded to over 400 acres of U.S. greenhouse production. What that means for you is a tomato grown in a controlled, pesticide-minimized environment with consistent watering and light exposure. The USDA's own 2023 pesticide data program found that Sunset brand tomatoes tested significantly below the average pesticide residue levels for the category, below average. In a world where tomatoes are one of the most heavily sprayed crops in America, that matters. The flavor is rich, slightly sweet, and they hold their texture for up to 10 days after purchase when stored correctly. Grocery chains like Whole Foods, Publix, and Costco carry them, and yes, Costco pricing means you're getting real quality without feeling like you just handed your wallet to a corporation that doesn't know your name. Number 3, Backyard Farms. This one is a hidden gem, and I want to make sure you know about it. Backyard Farms is based in Madison, Maine. Yes, Maine, and they operate one of the largest single-site tomato greenhouses in North America. 42 acres under one roof. That's not a hobby farm. That's serious infrastructure dedicated to getting a better tomato to your table. What makes Backyard Farms stand out is their commitment to growing year-round in New England without the heavy pesticide load that outdoor growers depend on. They use integrated pest management, which in plain language means they use beneficial insects to control pests instead of spraying chemicals all over your food. Independent lab testing commissioned by a 2021 Food Safety Watchdog report found Backyard Farms tomatoes had 0 detectable synthetic pesticide residues across multiple test batches. 0. You try finding that number from a Walmart brand. They sell primarily through regional New England chains like Hannaford and Market Basket, which means they're not trying to be everything to everyone, they're focused on doing one thing right. If you're in the Northeast and you see the Backyard Farms label, grab it without a second thought. Number 2. Gotham Greens. Gotham Greens started on a rooftop in Brooklyn in 2009 and has since expanded to greenhouse facilities in New York, Illinois, Maryland, Colorado, California, and Rhode Island. This is urban agriculture done right, and the reason it matters is proximity. Their tomatoes travel hours to stores, not days or weeks. That's a freshness advantage that no overseas or long-haul operation can match. A 2022 life cycle analysis published in the journal Environmental Science and Technology found that hyper-local greenhouse operations like Gotham Greens generated up to 80% fewer carbon emissions per pound of produce compared to field-grown tomatoes shipped across the country. I'm not going to pretend I care more about the environment than my grocery bill, but when better for the planet also means a fresher tomato, I'm paying attention. Gotham Greens uses 0 synthetic pesticides, and their facilities are USDA organic certified. You'll find them at Whole Foods, Sprouts, and regional grocers across their distribution zones. Yes, they cost a little more, but when you actually taste one firm, bright, sweet with real acidity, you'll understand why. And you'll stop wondering why the 50-cent-a-pound clamshell down the aisle tastes like nothing. Number 1. Perro Family Farms. Perro Family Farms out of Delray Beach, Florida is the kind of American agricultural story that barely gets told anymore. This is a family operation that's been growing produce in Florida and the eastern U.S. for over 70 years. 3 generations. They're not a private equity portfolio company. They're not a subsidiary of a multinational that couldn't find Florida on a map. They're a family that grows tomatoes. Their cherry tomatoes are grown in Florida's natural climate, which is ideal for tomatoes, and the farm has maintained SQF Level 2 certification, one of the most rigorous food safety standards in the industry. In 2023, a field-to-shelf traceability audit ranked Perro Family Farms in the top 10% of U.S. produce operations for supply chain transparency. That means when something goes wrong, and in this industry, things do go wrong, Perro can trace a problem batch back to a specific field in hours, not days. They distribute through Publix, Costco, and independent retailers across the South and Midwest, and their pricing is honest. This is the cherry tomato I'd put in front of my own family. And these days, I don't say that about many brands.